Fright Night Vault. Audio horror for nighttime listening.
Welcome, Fright Night Vault listeners. Step quietly, for tonight the air itself carries a presence. This is an audio-only descent into fear, made to chill your ears while shadows linger on the screen. If you dare to continue, remember to listen in the dark, for that is where the vault breathes deepest. The house was not old, but it felt older than stone. It crouched at the end of a dead road, windows shuttered like blind eyes, and a silence clung to its walls as if even sound refused to enter. The family who moved in never questioned the price. It was cheap, too cheap for the size, but desperation softened their doubts. They walked into the house with boxes and laughter, but by nightfall, the walls had already begun to listen. At first, it was the small things, an impression in the dust where no step had fallen, the hum of electricity that flickered when no light was on, and then the sound of doors closing softly upstairs, though no one was there to close them. On the third night, the mother woke to the sound of breathing, not the deep rise and fall of her husband beside her, but shallow, strained, as though a throat long ruined tried to pull air through broken lungs. It came from the corner of the room, where nothing stood but a chair left by the previous owners. She sat up slowly. The sound stopped, but when she turned toward the chair, the dark felt heavier, as though it had settled onto a shape, something hunched and waiting. The days dragged on, and the house grew bolder. Every morning, the children would find their toys rearranged, dolls sitting in rows along the hallway, trucks and blocks stacked in the shape of a crude doorway. When asked, they insisted they hadn't touched them. But sometimes in their sleep, they would murmur things, fragments. She's in the hall. She wants to play. The father tried to deny it, tried to nail down the windows that shuddered in the night, to oil the hinges of doors that moaned even when still. But each repair rotted within a day, as if the house undid his work by morning. By the fifth night, the mother no longer slept. Each time her eyes closed, the breath returned, ragged, broken, always at the same distance from her bed. She tried to whisper to it, tried to ask what it wanted. And once, only once, the air answered back. A rasp, not words but a syllable, stretched into her ear. Stay. She told herself it was a dream. Yet in the morning, she found her side of the bed damp, as if someone had been leaning close, dripping something she dared not name. The children grew pale, listless. They began avoiding their rooms, preferring the cold tile of the kitchen floor. The youngest drew pictures, figures black and faceless, sitting on the upstairs chair. The eldest stopped speaking altogether, staring at the ceiling whenever a draft stirred. Then came the seventh night. The family awoke to the smell of rot, thick and sweet, filling every room. They searched for dead animals in the walls, spoiled food, anything. But the smell was strongest in the master bedroom, and strongest still on that old chair. When the father grabbed it to throw it out, the wood burned his hands. Not heat, something colder than heat, so sharp it blistered his skin. And as he dropped it, the whole house groaned, a sound like old timbers but deeper, almost like a throat clearing. And from upstairs came the sound of every door in the hallway, slamming shut. The slamming doors echoed like thunder, shaking dust from the ceiling. The children screamed. The father charged up the stairs, his blistered hands still raw, his voice breaking as he shouted for the thing to show itself. But the hallway was wrong. The doors he swore led to their bedrooms no longer lined the walls in neat rows. Instead, the corridor stretched unnaturally long, the wood warped, the floor slanting downward as though pulling him deeper. Behind him, the mother clutched the children, whispering prayers she could not remember fully, her voice trembling. The youngest whimpered, "Don't look at her. Don't look." And then the lights died. Darkness swallowed the house whole. Not the normal dark, but a thick, choking absence. It pressed against their eyes, their skin. They could still hear. Oh, they could hear. the dragging of bare feet across the boards above them, moving slow, deliberate, as if deciding which step to take next. The father lit his phone flashlight, but the glow only reached a few feet ahead, painting the warped corridor in sickly pale white. And there she stood. The chair, that same chair, sitting at the far end of the hall, waiting, though it had never left their bedroom. And upon it, something sat. A shape so heavy, the wood bowed under it, draped in the thick shadow of a body not meant to be seen. But the eyes, two pits burning deep red, dripping trails of light like wounds torn into the dark. Its mouth tore open, impossibly wide, teeth gleaming wet in the beam of the phone. The father froze, the phone trembling in his grip. The figure leaned forward, slow, its arm stretching out, longer than it should be, fingers curling. And when it spoke, the voice filled every wall, every floorboard, every breath in the house. "You live here now." The children wailed. The mother pulled them close, sobbing, but there was nowhere left to run. The walls had grown thick, the stairs behind them swallowed in the same stretching dark. The house was not a house anymore. It was a throat, and they were already inside. The father dropped the phone, the light spinning across the warped floorboards before dying out, leaving them swallowed whole in the red glow of those eyes. The figure rose from the chair, its limbs cracked as though pulled from bone sockets, joints bending the wrong way. It moved not with speed, but with certainty, and the family felt it, the crushing weight of ownership. The mother tried to guide the children down the stairs, but the steps stretched, unraveling like fabric. The farther they ran, the more the house grew. The youngest cried that the door was gone, and it was, swallowed by the dark, the shape of escape erased. The father, in desperation, grabbed one of the children's toys from the floor, a wooden truck. He hurled it at the figure. It never landed. The air swallowed it, the way the walls swallowed light, and the sound died before it could strike. Then the breathing returned, that ragged pull of ruined lungs, now multiplied. Not one, but many. Every corner, every wall, every inch of the house exhaled with them. They were not alone with one spirit. They were inside it. The mother clutched her children, whispering she was sorry, so sorry, as the figure loomed over them. Its mouth split wider, wide enough that the sound itself fractured into screams too deep for human throats, and the last thing they saw was that mouth lowering as though the house itself meant to swallow them whole. Silence followed. By morning, the house stood still at the end of its road. Windows shuttered, no sound within. But sometimes, just sometimes, when the wind dies and the night is at its deepest, you can hear the faint echo of children's toys clattering, a chair creaking under unseen weight, and the rasp of someone breathing just behind your ear. If you enjoy these types of horror audio stories, add a like, comment, share, and subscribe. Subscribe to be the first to hear it. We upload daily. If you have a story of your own, feel free to leave it in the comments below. You never know, the next story could be yours. See you on the next video.